Like many other media around the world, CBC has been reporting the highlights of the WikiLeaks diplomatic cables this week. Tonight, the tables are somewhat turned. Newly released cables contain diplomatic exchanges about CBC television. Senior correspondent Terry Milewski is here to tell us what had U.S. officials looking to change the channel. Terry.
Well, Diana, as expected, these latest leaks include American diplomats talking about Canada's so-called inferiority complex. But it's also the CBC's turn to get burned, with the U.S. Embassy complaining that this network runs anti-American shows. Shows like Little Mosque on the Prairie set off alarms at the embassy by showing an innocent Canadian bullied by U.S. agents.
You guys got an appointment?
No. However,
Next.
Roger.
Diplomats also objected to episodes of The Border, like the one where nasty U.S. agents put an innocent Canadian on a rendition flight to Syria.
It's about an innocent man being tortured in prison while people like you cover their asses while they sit there to rot.
That was based on the true story of Meher Arab. But in a 2008 cable, the embassy called it anti-American melodrama, adding this: the degree of comfort with which Canadian broadcast entities, including those financed by Canadian tax dollars, twist current events to feed long-standing negative images of the U.S. And the extent to which the Canadian public seems willing to indulge in this feast is an indication of the kind of insidious, negative, populist stereotyping we are increasingly up against in Canada.
And a little amusing was that American diplomats would spend their time watching Little Mosque on the Prairie. It's a great show, but I would have thought they had other things to do.
But entertainment matters, the embassy said, citing The Border again for showing an arrogant U.S. agent, quote, bossing around her stereotypically more compassionate Canadian colleagues.
I'll be running our new integrated cross-border initiative.
What's it called? Operation Piss Off the Canadians?
The producer of The Border says, sure, we took shots at the Bush administration, but then we lightened up.
Season 3 of The Border was the Obama administration came in, and The Border softened, our stance towards the American government.
And today, the American ambassador softened the U.S. stance, too.
CBC is not anti-American. It is not biased in its coverage.
Are you just saying that because we have an inferiority complex?
I don't buy that one either.
Still, briefing President Obama for a visit to Ottawa, U.S. diplomats did warn about Canada's habitual inferiority complex. But now, of course, there's no need to feel inferior. We've joined the big boys by being trashed in diplomatic cables. Diana.
Thanks, Terry. Terry Milewski in Ottawa. Well, CBC TV shows aren't the only WikiLeaks-related target. A prominent Canadian joined the ranks of Sarah Palin and other high-profile Americans calling for action against WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange. Much anger over the leaks has been directed at Assange and what he's done. But what about the newspaper that first made the decision to publish the cables? Susan Ormiston went looking for the story behind this story.
A simple memory stick, that's all it took. 1.6 gigabytes of text files handed over to The Guardian months ago.
We got the cables from WikiLeaks, basically, who got them in turn, it's alleged, from a 22-year-old disaffected American soldier, Bradley Manning. He took them out on a CD from his post in Baghdad.
Bradley Manning is locked up in a U.S. military jail. WikiLeaks founder, Julian Assange, has left London for the time being. Now Interpol wants him for questioning on alleged sexual charges in Sweden. Pressure's building. Then on CBC yesterday.
Well, I think Assange should be assassinated, actually.
Flanagan's words picked up today by international media. He's apologized for the glib comment.
Case in point, I never seriously intended to advocate or propose the assassination of Mr. Assange, but I do think that what he's doing is very malicious.
Meanwhile, the leaks keep coming. What's coming?
A lot more. Well, this is really just the start of the whole thing. There are scores and scores of disclosures.
To search 250,000 pages, The Guardian built a database. The download was shared with the New York Times and 3 European papers, doling it out in bits. Is there some stuff in there that is too sensitive for you to make public?
There is some stuff like that, yes, but it's stuff that we decided not to make public because we think no public purpose is served.
But playing guardian to scores of state secrets, some argue, is not in the public's interest.
There wasn't a malfeasance. This isn't the Pentagon Papers. This isn't where something has been determined as wrong and we needed a whistleblower. And that was supposed to be the concept of WikiLeaks, as sort of a whistleblower concept.
Very often governments leak things because it suits their purposes. It's just this is somebody else this time doing the leaking.
As for Canada, aside from that inferiority complex,
there's not much in the cables concerning bad things that ought to be made known about Canada.
nothing about how the U.S. perceives our country.
I'm joking a little bit. There is quite a lot of material about Canada, and it'll all come out in due course.
Less than 1% of those cables have been released so far by WikiLeaks and the newspapers. Another large bulk of them may eventually be posted online, but perhaps not until the new year. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, London.